What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. Now today it is time for my week 4 Champions League predictions. So the group stage is starting to heat up. We're over halfway now, and I do just want to quickly say, before we get into the week 4 predictions of the Champions League, I'll have a quick look back at my week 3 successes, which was my most successful Champions League week. I got pretty much every result right, along with 3 correct scores, those being RB Leipzig to beat Zenit St. Petersburg 2-1, Benfica to beat Lyon 2-1. So the first 3 correct scores I've got for the Champions League were all 2-1s, including the Chelsea 2-1 win over Lille. And also Lille to draw with Valencia 1-1. So as of today, before week 4, I've only ever in my life predicted the score for 3 Lille matches and got 2 of them exactly right. So maybe Lille is just a team that I know, just sort of know. But either way, let's get into the week 4 predictions for the Champions League, and I'll show you who I think is going to win, who I think is going to draw, and who, as a result, therefore, will be losing. So kicking it off, we have Barcelona up against Slavia Prague. Now, Slavia Prague, they're giving it a good go, you know, they are giving it a really good go. They scared Barcelona a little bit, but in the end, Barcelona were able to get the better of them. And I think at the new camp, it's going to be much more plain sailing. So I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to Barcelona in this one. I'm going to go for a Lionel Messi brace and Suarez to score in between 60 and 70 minutes. That's going to be my prediction for that one. The next game is Zenit St. Petersburg versus RB Leipzig. Now, Zenit making a good account of themselves throughout the group stage so far. I can't actually off the top of my head picture how this group is laid out. This group here is the hardest one to predict in my opinion as to who's going through. I believe it's Zenit St. Petersburg, RB Leipzig, Lyon and Benfica, I think. And yeah, it's really heating up, and I'm very unsure as to who's actually going to go through and who's going to be knocked out or go to the Europa League. So I think it's going to be a very tough game for RB Leipzig, because I think a lot of people thought that Leipzig would walk this group. I didn't, but at the same time I thought that Zenit St. Petersburg would struggle a bit more than they have been in this group. So I think it's going to be a very, very close one. I do think RB Leipzig have a slight edge, so I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw in this fixture. Now, the next fixture is Borussia Dortmund up against Inter Milan. Inter Milan making light work of beating Borussia Dortmund in the previous round at 2-0 at home. But I think with Borussia Dortmund's crowd, which is arguably one of the best crowds in Europe, if you've not seen Dortmund's fans, it's absolutely ridiculous. And the atmosphere there will be insane. So I do think the crowd are going to will Dortmund on to a win to make amends for their loss to Inter Milan in the previous round. I'm going to go for a close 2-1 win to Borussia Dortmund in this fixture. Now, the next one is Chelsea up against Ajax, and this promises to be a very interesting fixture. I did predict a high-scoring score draw in the previous fixture, and it was a 1-0 away win to Chelsea, but I think at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea kind of, they want to be more on the front foot. They want to score goals. But at the same time, I think Ajax will be more inclined to try and counter-attack and try and score as many goals as they can as well, and make up for the loss that they received at their own home ground. So I do think this one will be high-scoring again. But I'm going to give Chelsea the edge. To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if Ajax go to Stamford Bridge and win in the similar way that Chelsea did to them. But I'm going to go for a 3-2 win to Chelsea. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think both teams are going to go forward on the front foot. So 3-2 to Chelsea in that fixture, making them look very, very good for qualifying to the group stages. The next game is Liverpool up against Genk. I'm not going to spend too long on this one. By the way, if you didn't watch the Liverpool-Arsenal tie in the Carabao Cup, you missed out. It was absolutely electric. I predicted when it was 2-1, I believe, I predicted it would end in the scoreline of 6-5, and I was very, very close. But yeah, Liverpool, I think they're going to win this one comfortably. There's not much more I need to say. I'm going to go for a 4-0 win to Liverpool at Anfield in this fixture. The next one is Lyon up against Benfica. Again, the group is wide open. I do think Lyon will just have enough. Lyon will just have enough to beat Benfica in this game at their home ground. I'm going to go for a 2-1. Another perhaps correct Champions League 2-1 prediction there. The next fixture is Napoli up against FC Salzburg. Now, Napoli did beat FC Salzburg 3-2 in the previous fixture, and I'm going to go for a very similar scoreline in this one. Napoli are at home. They play very well at home, but FC Salzburg definitely have a goal in them, and Napoli sometimes let in a few at the back, a few more than they should do. They are susceptible to the odd goal here and there. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Napoli this time round. Now, the next fixture is Valencia up against Lille. Lille, the team that I've correctly predicted more often than not. And I'm going to go for another 2-1 result against Lille. I'm going to go for Valencia to win this one 2-1. If there's ever a ground that Valencia are going to win at, obviously it's their home ground. They are a solid team, and I'm going to predict them to beat Lille 2-1 in this fixture. The next one shouldn't be too difficult. It's Bayern Munich up against Olympiakos. Olympiakos struggling at the bottom of the group, I believe, and Bayern Munich flying high, doing very, very well, and this should be a walk in the park, really. Olympiakos might get a late goal. I can see Bayern getting the job done, going 4-0 up and then conceding. So as a result of that, I'm going to go for a 4-1 win to Bayern Munich. The next game is Lokomotiv Moscow up against Juventus. I predicted an easy 3-0 win for Juventus in the previous leg, but it was actually 1-0 to Lokomotiv Moscow for the majority of that game, and then Dybala scored 2 goals in like 3 minutes to give Juventus the 2-1 win. This is away from home, so you could argue might be a little bit more difficult, but I think Juventus aren't going to go into this game, you know, underestimating Lokomotiv Moscow like they might have done in the previous fixture. So I'm going to go for the exact same result, with Juventus able to get the away win, being a little bit more cautious with what Lokomotiv Moscow have to offer. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Juventus. Now, the next fixture promises to be very, very exciting. It is Atalanta up against Manchester City. In the previous round, I predicted Man City would win this fixture 4-2. They ended up winning it 5-1. And of course, there were a lot of goals. I predicted 6 goals. There were at least 6 goals. I'm going to go for even more goals in this fixture. I'm going to go for a 7-goal thriller, similar to the Bayern Munich-Tottenham game, actually. I'm going to go for a 5-2 away win to Manchester City. I think Atalanta, they've got goals in them, multiple goals in them, but it seems when they're up against an upper echelon of opponent, they concede more than they score. And as far as Man City is concerned, it's quite a few more than they score. So yeah, 5-2 to Manchester City in this one. The next game is Bayer Leverkusen up against Atletico Madrid. I wasn't far off with my prediction in the previous round. I predicted Atletico Madrid would win without conceding, and they did. I'm going to go for the same result I predicted in the last round, even though it's away from home. Atletico Madrid are just so strong defensively. I'm going to go for another 2-0 win to Atletico Madrid away from home in this fixture. Like I said, they did win. They won 1-0 last time at home, but to be honest, Atletico Madrid, they either score in the first half and win like 3-0 or 3-1, or it's 0-0 because of their strong defence for like 60, 70 minutes, and then before 80 minutes, though, they've got a 1-0 lead. And unlike some teams that kind of need to get the second goal to ensure the result, Atletico Madrid can get a 1-goal lead and comfortably hold it for half an hour and just see out a game 1-0. Like, their goal difference might not be as high as the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid, but they are very clinical and very strong at the back, and I think they're going to get the better of Bayer Leverkusen here away from home. The next game is Dynamo Zagreb up against Shakhtar Donetsk. I predicted Shakhtar to beat Zagreb 3-1 in the previous fixture. It ended in a 2-2 draw, but I do still think that Shakhtar Donetsk are slightly better. So given that Shakhtar are away, Dynamo Zagreb will have their tails up, and there's going to be goals in this game. Shakhtar always score, they always concede. Another team, a bit like Atalanta in that sense. I'm going to go for an identical scoreline to the previous round, a 2-2 draw between the two teams. Now, the next game is Paris Saint-Germain up against Club Brugge. Now, PSG, obviously, at the start of the Champions League this year, I predicted them to finish at the top of the group above Real Madrid, and it's really looking like that with them 5 points clear halfway through. And obviously, they've got to play Club Brugge and Galatasaray, which you'd expect them to win, leaving Real Madrid no space to catch up, even if they do beat PSG in the reverse fixture. So I think PSG are going to beat Club Brugge here comfortably. I predicted them to win 2-0 in the previous round. They won 5-0 because Mbappe came on, just switched it on, and it was just amazing to watch. Angel Di Maria played exceptionally well. Some very good passes to send Mbappe through on goal. I'm going to go for a very similar result to the previous round, a 4-0 win to PSG in this one. And the next fixture up from the same group is Real Madrid up against Galatasaray. I did actually have a comment on my previous video, my week 3 video, saying, giving multiple reasons as to why my predictions were sort of incorrect. You know, Real Madrid losing to Mallorca, Bayern Munich having maybe some injury issues, and Tottenham looking really, really bad. And obviously Tottenham went and won, like, by a lot. Bayern Munich won, Real Madrid won. And I think that Real Madrid are kind of turning a corner a little bit. I really do. I think they're bouncing back to play the way that they should be playing. Hazard's settling in a bit better. Karim Benzema is playing really well. So I think Real Madrid are going to get this win against Galatasaray. Not maybe as spectacular as PSG's win will be against Club Brugge, but I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Real Madrid nonetheless. Now, the final game is the reverse fixture of Red Star Belgrade up against Tottenham. Now, in the previous fixture, Tottenham won 5-0. It was an absolute thrashing. It is obviously more difficult to go to Red Star Belgrade. Obviously, we know from last year, Napoli drew 0-0 there, and Liverpool lost 2-0 there. So it is going to be a bit harder, but I think Tottenham, in the Champions League, they will be able to, knowing that they've got Galatasaray and Red Star Belgrade in their group, and it's not a particularly tough group to get out of at least, even though it'll probably be in second place behind Bayern Munich. I think they can just put the Premier League out of their minds and just play well and win this game. And I'm going to go for a 3-1 away win to Tottenham. So that is going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like on it. Subscribe today so you don't miss another upload. And leave your comment down below what you think is going to happen in the week 4 of the Champions League. And perhaps how you think each group is going to turn out in the end. Who's going to go through, who's going to go to the Europa League, and who is going to be out. So yes, that does it from me. I hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.